got to a place with Fear the Walking Dead that it has its own identity where we can play around with some things. What I'm going to say, and this is all I'm going to say, is there are 2 Walking Dead shows. I'm not going to name them, but there are 2. But there's going to be one character that will go from one show that I will not name and go to and appear in the other show that I will not name. Now, what does that mean? Are we going to see an interesting backstory of a Walking Dead character on Fear the Walking Dead? Or are we going to see a Fear the Walking Dead character show up in The Walking Dead as a future version of the character? Or is it going to be something completely different? So I would like to think that he is going to stick with one character going to the opposite show. Also, in case you guys have not seen the Talking Dead episode that happened after the premiere, it has been said that it will definitely happen in 2018. So it's a sure thing, it's happening, and I'm very excited about it. What do you guys think?
Oh, I'm ready. I mean, this is something that I have wanted since the very beginning because so many people were I've watched it since day one, and I watched it because I wanted to understand what happened in the very beginning, and a lot of people, because they're so used to all the action and it going so fast, we're like, oh, it's so slow, it's boring, and I'm like, but you have to understand, we've got to see every little bit and piece that led up to that point. And I kept thinking, well, if they would just have a crossover, if they would just bring somebody from our show in, the fan base would then embrace it, because everybody's like, oh, I'm not watching it, it's stupid, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but you've got to, give it time. And so obviously now it's gotten to a point where people are watching it and they're excited. And, this is something I've wanted for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. I always thought that Fear the Walking Dead was going to bring someone into The Walking Dead, and I'm so glad they finally said that they are. And that's going to lead to more people watching Fear the Walking Dead. So that's awesome.
I think for a long time, we've really thought of them as 2 different shows. And for the most part, they are in their own right, but it's one family. Just like we are here, we're a big Walking Dead family. The shows need to come together so that everybody really embraces both shows. And I think that that's a really awesome way to do it, is having a crossover. And I was speaking with Heather. Is that Tobias from Fear the Walking Dead? I think that would be really cool. So what is your favorite theory?
Well, when I first found out that they were going to do this, my first reaction was Abraham. And that being because in the final episode, Proctor John says they're going to Houston. Well, from what backstory we know about Abraham, he came from the Houston area. So for me, I got excited because, when he died, it was just devastating. And, he's one of these, he and Glenn both, I'm like, if there was a way to bring them back, and, this is a good opportunity. And I actually hope that they'll actually consider bringing other characters back so we can see more of their backstory. That's one of the things that I've always wondered, what was their life like before, So that's really what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be Abraham. I think Michael Publix is going to come back, and we're going to be happy to see him,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
that's what I want anyway. Anybody else agree with me?
We have a theory how.
How?
Oh, please tell us.
You want to say, you want me to?
Well,
Crazy Dog.
Crazy Dog, I have to.
Yeah.
He was in the army. Abraham was in the army.
So, Army Buddy.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, and I didn't even put that together, but that is another possibility, all the
They've had a
connections.
couple of clues about when Herschel was still alive, they were talking about going west. And said there's nothing, the people that was in the tavern at the time said, well, you don't want to go out there, so there's nothing. And then they were talking about going to Houston and making a safe zone in Houston. So Houston's not that far.
They really played up Crazy Dog's part at the end. So that's what really.
I mean, there was just so much emphasis on them repeating where they're going, where they're
It's
going.
all about Houston.
Yeah.
So, that seems to be, that's how I make the pieces, I put the pieces together. I'm hoping and praying that it's Abraham, because I would love to see Michael Cudlitz back on the show. So. What? Oh, yeah, here, come up here. You too. You can both. Now that one is one of the special ones that actually has a piece of the fabric that was worn in the show. So
Cool, thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, we have a podcast called Brave Gone Bad.
Oh,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay, I'll definitely listen.
Yeah, I'll have to write it down. I'll never remember. Kelly, write it down.
On it. Okay, so what did you think?
Well, if you're familiar with the comics, there's this group that is coming up in the future called the Whisperers.
Yes.
And this has always been my favorite theory. And since Kirkman said there's only going to be one, it kind of like, oh, who's it going to be? I think it's Madison who's going to go over to The Walking Dead as the leader of the Whisperers, who is called Alpha. It would be cool if more characters from Fear the Walking Dead went over. Like, I thought Alicia would go with her and be her daughter, which in the comics is Lydia. But yeah, that's really my theory. I think it's something that would be really cool to have. It's like you're falling in love with these Fear the Walking Dead characters, and then they're going to become the villains in The Walking Dead. And I just, when they were...
That's why I thought it was going to be Nick. I think it was going to be Nick who somehow, even though he's not the leader of the Whisperers, somehow the things that he has learned, he becomes one of them and kind of teaches them how to survive in that way, but he doesn't like to be the leader, so he's not necessarily the alpha or beta, but he kind of crosses over and creates the Whisperers, so to say.
Absolutely. Come here.
Y'all
Let me give you.
the Madison and the Carol version that they're saying that they're going to come together somehow, because Carol was supposed to have been from Alabama, and when she was telling, Madison was telling her story about killing her father, she was in Alabama, and then when she was on 85, she was coming 85 to Atlanta, and I've heard a lot about them bringing Madison in, but also having another angle as far as being.
This is all
See, that's something I hadn't thought of. And
awesome.
see, you picked up on pieces that, like I said, I don't remember details like that. I remember, I can connect, Abraham Houston. That's about all I can remember. You remembering those specific details. And I mean, I have toyed with the idea that it might be Madison, because we did know she was from the South, and Alabama and Georgia are very close. And then we had some other people, that said they were going to Alabama. So
yes, that plays into mine. Now, I realize that this could be a stretch, but this is my absolute favorite theory, and it's that Morales will show up in Fear the Walking Dead. And if you guys remember, he left in the 5th episode of the 1st season called Wildfire. He's like, guys, we have family in Alabama. We need to go see if they're safe. And it's one of those loose ends that I can't stand, because we have this family and they're just gone. They're just absolutely gone. We don't know where they are, what happened to them. And obviously, them going to Alabama, what do you normally do? What did our characters do? They went to the Capitol. And where is Madison from? Madison is from the Capitol because her father was a senator, I believe.
City council.
Yeah. So she knows that area good, and if she gets, backed into a corner, Houston goes bad, or if they don't end up in Houston, she might try and go back to something familiar to her past. So, I mean, maybe it's just me wanting to see Morales so bad, but I would really like to see him cross over, so we actually get to see his future. Now, Kirkman says one character, which I would hate to think his whole family would perish, but it's the zombie apocalypse, so obviously anything can happen, that can happen, but I think that it would be really cool. Also, the actor that plays him, Juan Gabriel, he released, I want to say 1 to 2 years ago, like a poster, just like The Walking Dead does every single year, and it had Morales on the front, and it said, "Not dead," over the cover. And he was actually put on the IMDb for that season of Fear the Walking Dead, but it never happened. So, I mean, obviously anybody can edit the site, but, I mean, just the combination of the poster that he released, the actor himself released on social media, I don't know. It just makes you think. And also, the person, I don't want to butcher his first name, but his last name was Morales. The man at the dam who found Daniel and nursed him back to health, his last name was Morales. So I thought, oh, maybe, but that dream is kind of shot down now, so yeah. So I did want to bring up another theory for you guys, because obviously we haven't heard a lot about certain characters on the show, and I would like to have some of you guys put your input here. Obviously we can give you some dog tags or something. But what do you guys think of Rosita? Because we don't know a lot about Rosita's past.
I think it's a possibility. I mean, she came from that area too, so.
She came from the area,
She kind of seems like in this the 7th season of The Walking Dead, she's kind of like withdrawn a lot. She wants to do everything herself because Abraham died. I feel like she feels like there's nobody left for her anymore.
Do any of y'all remember any of the specific things she said? I know that there's a lot of things she talked about. She didn't need anybody. She wanted to kill
Negan.
I mean, so obviously she's got a lot of anger.
She actually said, this was the last episode, that she learned everything from her ex-boyfriend.
Right, and we don't know who her ex
She said
is.
not him.
Right. So we don't know who her ex is.
Right.
And I mean, Rosita, we don't know anything about her past, so she could be from anywhere. They could meet her absolutely anywhere. Now we know obviously she ends up in Houston, so that's a major thing, and that is a singular character. She said she uses men and she moves on, she learns what she wants to do and she leaves. So I mean, why couldn't one of those men be Nick or Crazy Dog or any of those people?
I had not even thought about that. The fact that her boyfriend could have been one of those guys.
I mean, because they obviously know a lot. They're really handy. They've been out, holding their own for a long time, since before the apocalypse.
Does anybody know the time difference between where they are now versus where The Walking Dead is?
I think it's 6, 7 months.
Well, it's got to be a couple years.
A couple years, but I mean, from the beginning of the Fear the Walking Dead and the beginning of the Walking Dead.
So they started about 6 months later.
Because Rick was in the coma for we're not exactly sure how long. I think it was a few months, at least.
Yes.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Okay, so I think
it's.
And
so when we were sitting there watching, the beginning, when they're not even sure what's going on, in the first.
Because in the first season, when Lori and Shane and Carl are on the highway, you see them looking at Atlanta being destroyed. I'm thinking that's pretty close to the same time when they started putting up that green zone in LA. I think that's about the same time.
And see, that's the thing. It's I sat there and just watched and held on to every word, because I was like, this is what's going on while Rick's in his coma. That's why for me, I was immediately interested, because I was like, this is all what I wanted to know. I wanted to know how it started, because when we start with The Walking Dead, it's just Rick wakes up and the world's gone to hell, and it's like, well, how? What happened? And we see a lot of these people don't know what's going on, and their neighbor all of a sudden is killing people, and there's bodies, and there's a dog, and there's a neighbor, and it's like,
and in a world where there's no zombies,
right? And they don't know
what's going on.
It is,
They think it's a disease, and
so you really understand, for example, Herschel, why he thought they were sick. They thought people were sick too. They thought they were going to get better, So I mean, if you really think back on it, it's like, okay, that was on the West Coast, and what we're seeing was more on East Coast. And if you can kind of correlate the two in your head, it'll make a lot more sense, because I've heard characters on Fear say the exact same things that they've said on The Walking Dead. I mean, almost like word for word. And so obviously, they're both feeling it, at the exact same time,
And the characters on Fear the Walking Dead are growing so much. I mean, when we see The Walking Dead, when they start out, it's a couple seasons before we actually see up-close walker kills. And we're already getting that in Fear the Walking Dead, and we're seeing so many people grow. One thing that I recall from Talking Dead, the actor that plays Travis, he said that basically reading his first script, when he hears about his, or he sees his neighbor, and his reaction to it, he's like, I'm dying. I'm not gonna last long because I mean his first reaction is a compassionate like, oh, like he's like, what's happening? Like, what is going on? And I mean, we all know where moral compasses go.
Oh yeah.
On the show. Me and Heather were also talking about the governor.
Oh yes. Oh my God. I would so love to see him come back.
I mean,
we don't know his, we don't know his history.
That would be crazy.
Wouldn't
to see
it?
the governor entry. Oh my God.
See,
I thought he
The
was
what?
not.
Didn't the governor sell life insurance or something like that?
I can't remember. See, does anybody know his
See,
backstory? I don't remember.
the thing about him is that can you trust him saying his backstory?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he was so twisted by the time we met him. I mean, who knows?
I mean, we're
Well,
That would
hyping
be
all.
awesome. Oh my God, I love David Morrissey.
I mean, we're a hyping team family. Like, oh yeah, like what if Abraham comes? What if it's the governor?
You know, maybe
What if it's
actually
Negan?
see how, the governor turned to be who he is, by the time we saw him. Oh yeah, oh God, yes. So, I mean, I actually have that book that they did a little of his backstory in, and I'm like, I need more information,
I want to
So-
know everything.
From the second season of The Walking Dead, remember when they would go to the bar, they were talking about they were from a bigger group.
Oh
the,
yeah.
The two bikers or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I always thought maybe that's going somewhere because they just don't say a bigger group and then leave it.
You're talking about the guy,
Yeah.
where the one gets his leg impaled on the...
Yes,
Yeah.
they're from the
And,
bigger group and then they like talk to Shane or
I
something.
can't even remember his name.
Randall.
Randall, right,
yeah.
right, yes.
And
So, yeah, you don't know where
I think
they came
that
from.
could have turned into what Negan is now, maybe, and then he
Mm-hmm.
took control.
But I remember when they
Talks
first
about
found
Nebraska.
Jesus, Rick and Daryl found Jesus.
Mhm.
He said, your world is supposed to get a whole lot bigger.
Right.
For years, I don't know how, time frame, but they just thought they were the only survivors left.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, your world's gonna get a whole lot bigger. Then they got saviors, they got the hilltop.
Well, and if you think about it, a lot of these people, they started out in one location and then they somehow migrated to another, so it's like, well, how did they make it to that place, and you finally see that, they're all connected. There's so many people that it's like,
And then you
okay,
got the
it's
ones
like
at the beach,
a spider web,
the ones at the beach.
And I mean, one thing that we have to consider is we always think, what are the odds that, somebody is going to end up in Alexandria or in the kingdom? But when you think about it and you think about a place that is going to have order, Washington. The CDC, like these are big places. These aren't like, oh, let's go to Idaho. Like this seems like a good idea. This is like, oh, this is like really structured. This is what we need. Like maybe there's somebody with answers here. So one character that I mentioned earlier, Tobias, that I was just heartbroken when he left. Like he was such a sweet guy. He was like on top of everything. Like he was ready. He brought a knife to school. He was like, I can handle this. He was like the one person that seemed to have everything together and to be gone. And I like to think of him as like a younger Eugene. Like he knows things. Like he's a smarter kid. So why not him think, oh, let's go to Washington, or like let's go to the CDC. Or
His character is not dead.
yes, Dave Erickson has said that the showrunner at the time, Tobias is not dead.
Exactly.
And also, I've read about the girl in the airplane, and I think was it her and Tobias that were together, or who was it? They were together. It was somebody else. I can't remember. But they said she's not dead. So we don't know where she is. So she could show up.
They showed her in a sewer.
It's so funny because, you get bits and pieces and it's like they leave you hanging, you're like, you never know. And I think they do that for that reason. So if you don't know where somebody disappeared and where they went, then 3 years later, hey, look, I'm back. And they can do that. And that's what's really cool.
Yeah,
So,
they did it with Morgan.
Yeah, Morgan.
oh God, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so happy to see him.
That was so frustrating in the first season.
I
Morgan just
know.
disappeared and you're
I'm
like,
like,
I know,
really?
yeah.
come on.
Rick's on the walkie-talkie and that's
Oh,
all you
anyway.
hear and it's like, what happened to it?
He had like 3 episodes, and he already had like a bigger fan base than like Lori and Andrea combined. Like everyone just loved him. And I mean, a lot of people kind of exclude him from the original people, but how many originals would we have without Morgan?
Yeah.
He was
We
in
wouldn't
the
have
first
Rick.
episode.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he and
Rick was stumbling around like, what?
Yeah.
What is this?
He
And
was
Morgan
one
is
of
the
the very
person that
first
saved
characters.
him.
So, you know, I mean, it has to be. He's a very important piece, and I'm really glad. I hope they're going to keep him around for a while because, you know, he's finally turned around and he's ready to kill again, you know.
I'd like to ask y'all something. Do you think that it might have rolled, like started in California, rolled across the virus across to the east side from the west to the east? And the reason I ask this is because fear started in the crack house. And you know, that's all tied to Breaking Bad. I'm sure a lot of y'all know Breaking Bad.
Well, I mean, we saw the blue.
Oh, yeah.
With the
Blue
blue
sky.
man. And so, you know, they're gonna probably tie that in at some part. So you think that's probably where it originated at, was in California and Mexico?
It could have been. I mean, you know, I don't
Blue meth was
know.
made in Arizona.
Have we ever heard who patient 0 was? I mean, did they ever? And I mean, it's like.
I don't think that we will. Robert Kirkman has said that.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. He, like, the whole timeline thing, we're never gonna figure out. I don't think we'll ever know who patient 0 was. I think they wanna just kinda leave that up, because I think it was Robert Kirkman has said that they're not gonna reveal that.
I mean, you have to think, if we know what started it, we know what ended, and do we want it to end?
Right.
Yeah, there's certain things they have to just leave.
She has her hand raised in the back.
Oh.
I still firmly believe it's bias is the problem, because of the scene that Madison had in high school.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say this, they just left it too long.
Oh, yeah.
His character is there, so I honestly believe it's gonna be bias, he's gonna need the crossover. That's my personal.
He's gotta come back.
That whole scene is too long.
I think so. I think
So you're-
I think
you're
he has to come
100%
back
sure.
somewhere.
Well, I'm 99.9. What if my man Abraham shows up? I'll take care of Abraham for you.
He's just right down there.
Why not both?
Yeah.
Just bring it both back.
Yeah, I like to get up and walk around. I'm not. I can't sit still.
There was a shadow of what, the star stuck in the CDC with the guy from the CDC. and
Dr. Jenner.
Life. They killed, that's how they learned that they killed him by shooting him in
It scanned her brain during,
when she
when
went.
she was turning all the guys. Jenner.
Yeah, his wife. And didn't in Fear, when they were at the hospital or their makeshift hospital, they were saying it starts in the brain. It was like there was a female doctor, I can't really remember all the details, but she told somebody.
Yeah.
It was the ex-wife.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so she told them that it started in the brain. So, you know, however it was, they knew there on the West Coast too, that, you know. And what's interesting, and one of the things I liked about Fear, was we remember when Strand talks to the astronaut. Remember? And he's telling him, he's like, it's everywhere. You know, it's the entire world.
And they also said that in CDC.
Yeah. I mean, so that was just like,
They're like, all the, who was it?
Because they were like showing off like all the different bases the CDC has,
Yep.
and he's trying to communicate with them on the video intercom system. Yeah, I thought that
and
was.
it was, yeah, it's just crazy. So does anybody have a different theory? Anybody have any other characters that they've thought about, or? Is that 6 o'clock? How long do we have?
I think we have like, we can have like up to 45 minutes.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I know now sit here and talk
I
forever.
would like to know where Heath is.
You know, that's a good question.
I just escaped my mind.
He's just disappeared on us, you know? I mean, what was it? He went, they were, when was this?
Heath and Tara were on a run.
Right. And then that's when she came back. She had the sunglasses on. She didn't know everybody had died. Is that what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and Heath
And we
had just
never know
taken the RV.
what happened to him. So.
I read the, or I didn't really read it, I saw like a little article or something about Heath joining the Whisperers. I was like, whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because the card had the symbol of a noise frequency for whisper. So people were saying that the card means that he was picked up by the whisperers.
What card?
Whenever Tara
found.
The card that Tara found.
Okay. I was like, missed that part.
So does anybody else have any ideas, anything they can think of, or would you like to
Madison
see?
shows up with whisperers, like what in the world?
Can I tell y'all about a Fear Walking Dead and Walking Dead crossover that's taking place here in the convention?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, tomorrow at 4:15 on the convention stage, Sam Underwood is going to play Rick Grimes and reading the issue 115 from the comic book.
Wow.
Sunday at 2:30, Joshua Michael Jared. He's a playwright, he's an award-winning playwright. He's written a play called Shelter, which is about 3 siblings in a bomb shelter.
Wow.
And they are going to do a dramatic reading here in this room, 2:30.
On Sunday? That'd
Yeah.
be really cool.
So I hope y'all can come.
Well, you know, at 6:45,
Yeah.
Robert Bernardo's doing We Are Negan, and he's actually going to have, I think, 5 guys who have played saviors in the show. So I don't know if that guy's going to be in it or not. I know there's 5 different ones, but that's it today at 6:45 in this room. So that should be interesting.
He's gonna show his shirt off.
What does it say?
He is utterly stone cold naked.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
So what about what's his name from the Saviors who was trying to help Alexandria and the guys fighting Negan?
Dwight.
What about his wife? She disappeared.
Well, that's another one. We don't know what happened to her.
He brought the 6-pack of beer and then left it
Right.
with the pretzels.
Right.
And then she disappeared and he lied and said he wanted to kill her.
Oh,
I didn't want to bring her back. I figured it would be kinder just to kill her. And lied to Negan.
Yeah, I
about it.
remember because he knew that Negan would go after her.
Yeah. Cause she just started walking, and I don't know where she's gonna come back, but I feel like she's gonna come back somehow in the show.
I don't know where she could have gone.
Yeah, it doesn't make you don't know anything about her.
You would think she would go to one of the I thought she was gonna go to Alexandria.
Yeah.
She never showed up to Alexandria.
She didn't show up
anywhere else. So it's I don't know where she is. Honestly, I have no clue where she could have gone, and
I think that this has left me even more confused.
Yes.
Now we're like, oh, there's even more possibilities.
There's so many more characters that I didn't think of that everyone is bringing up.
I'm
now.
sticking with Abraham. That's who I want. I'm gonna go down there and tell Pudlets I hope it's him, and I love him, and he's so awesome. So
I know he's been posting some really big
cryptic
social media
messages. You know,
But
so.
didn't Curtin say it was not public?
Well, you know, I think.
Well, didn't he also say that T-Dog would have a huge part in the next season, and then T-Dog died the next episode?
I think he lied to us just to lead us on.
Yeah.
It's going to be a crossover at all. When Fear first
Yeah.
started,
Watch it be like one thing.
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying, you know, it could be anybody. You know, I think he does a lot of things to throw us off. So, you know, to kind of keep the suspense, you know, because there's a lot of people that do spoilers and things like that. So I think he specifically tells us no to things we really want, because he's like, no, I want to keep you in suspense and not really, you know, let you know. So, and what was it? Scott Gimple said it's going to be sooner than later. So, you know, hopefully the first half of the year. That's what I'm thinking. You know, I'm hoping, you know, we won't have to wait so long to find out.
I mean, wouldn't it be wild if, you know, we're watching that second half of the Walking Dead season and we see like a major Fear the Walking Dead character just like randomly show up?
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously the season finale left us with a million questions. Who's alive? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I mean, would it be cool to be Strand? Maybe it's just my love for Strand.
I love
He's
him.
a con man. He's been everywhere.
Yeah.
He has connections everywhere.
I mean, yeah, you never know.
That was my Whisperer thing. I thought Strand was going to be Beta, and then Madison was Alpha, and then
That would make sense.
and then Alicia was
The relationship
Lydia of the
between
show.
them.
I think that would be really awesome. But I feel like that would mean that Fear the Walking Dead would. That's a lot of major characters.
Yeah, I think if only one was gonna go, it would be Madison as Alpha, and something would have to happen to her family, like Alicia and Nick, for her to turn into somebody like that.
Yeah, I mean, we already see her like spiraling.
Episode, Nick was like, well, you'll kill me the same way you did
Her dad.
Yeah, and I mean, she didn't even say like he had to be killed. She said he had to be put down.
Yeah.
Like he's just a stray dog. Like he had to be put down. Like not he needed to die. He needed to go away. But
Now, did y'all think about maybe Alicia being Alpha with the time jump? Yeah, and all the references about wanting her to cut her hair, sell her hair.
oh, I didn't even.
I thought it was either going to be Madison or Alicia.
And I thought that, okay, the only way that it would make sense is if they did a time jump, because obviously you can't, it can't be at the same time because we're so early on and, they're years down the road. But yeah, with the time jump, they can do anything on TV,
It's possible Alicia could be pregnant with Jake's child.
Oh, and see, that's one thing I thought
That
of.
would turn into Lydia.
Oh, yeah, see, we're just coming up with all kind of theories now. It's like a big spider web, It's
It's all
exciting.
gonna happen. All of it.
Well, one thing I know, it makes me happy to think that if it is Abraham, or if it is any of the other ones coming over to Fear, that's gonna give us more shows, because we're looking at 8 seasons we're into The Walking Dead. It's not going to continue forever. So those actors are probably going to want to take a break, go do something else. So what if it ends at season 10? Well, then we've got Fear that's still going to have years to go. So it's like, while this one may start to fizzle out, then we can ramp this one up. So it's like keep it. Well, and that's what I'm saying. He may not end The Walking Dead, as far as the entire franchise. He may continue to branch off. Because really, if you think about it, how many people's backstories do we not know?
True.
And I mean,
I don't think The Walking Dead, the original, is going anywhere anytime soon.
Let's hope not.
I mean,
I really
God, I
hope
know.
not.
I'm like, please.
I don't think it is.
I know. I'm like, Andy, please. Always want to be Rick Grimes.
I mean,
Don't ever
I think
leave.
we're gonna lose a lot of main characters in The Walking Dead.
And see,
so I
that
think
is
it's gonna
just,
continue
oh
for
my
quite a
God,
while.
that is just.
And Robert Kirkman has said that
Nobody's
Rick is
safe.
eventually going to die.
Yeah.
He's still alive in the comic books, but eventually he dies.
Well, and that's one of the things. Everybody wants to think they follow the comics, but they don't.
No,
they will
yeah.
throw in
It's like you get to the same endpoint, but it's a completely different path.
Yeah.
Like most of the time. Like
Where
you
other
get the
characters take other characters.
Yeah,
story
there's a bunch of
Storyline.
different.
Carol
and-
shouldn't even be alive right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And I mean, like,
That whole
they're-
thing was
And
crazy.
Andrea
Yeah.
is alive in the comics.
not
Is
anymore.
Andrea in the show?
Not anymore. She died.
Well, yeah, I haven't looked at the
We're
newest
not
ones,
caught
but
up
yeah,
on
we're
it.
not caught up on the comics. But for a long time, she was alive way beyond the Andrea in the show, and now Michonne's kind of taken on some of
Yeah.
her
Like
comic
TV
book role.
Andrea and comic Andrea are two completely different characters.
Yeah.
And I like to think that there's like, I mean, for the most part, what I've seen, whenever a character dies in the comics, if they don't take that death in the show, they have this period of extremely unsafe. Like they could die at any time. Like Abraham, obviously, he outlived the comic book counterpart. And I was like, oh yeah, it's cool. No, and it wasn't. But I mean,
They just fear for their lives every episode after.
yeah, and then you get to a safe point. Like Carol got to a point where I'm like, oh yeah, seasons later, she's safe. And then I fear for Morgan at the moment.
Yeah.
Because
I feel
he's
for
in
Carol
that
and
he's in
Morgan
an
at the
unsafe
moment.
place.
Yeah, I feel
After
like
the
they both
first
are.
episode, I fear for Carol and Morgan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm worried for Morgan just for the simple fact I think that if Negan were to end up in jail, I feel like it would be Morgan on the deathbed saying, please, Rick, do this. And it might push Rick to do it.
Right.
I'm worried about Sheila.
Oh
I think her
god.
time's coming soon.
I think that's coming soon. I don't
think
want
from
that
the
to happen.
trailer, even
Yeah.
Oh,
coming
yeah,
really
the
soon, 'cause
trailer.
there was like one
Yeah,
little
next
split
episode.
second
Yeah, like-
in the trailer that made me think, oh, this is gonna be where she
Has everyone seen that?
So-
That had
I
me so
must have
worried.
missed that. I've seen the trailer, but I must have missed that.
It's like one of
It's a
the
millisecond.
split-second
It's a
flashes,
millisecond
yeah.
flash of her being like surrounded by walkers.
Yeah.
It has me worried.
I'm a little worried about
Yeah.
that too.
You'll see me cry in my reaction on YouTube if that happens. If you guys want to see me cry.
So in the opening credits of the show, like of season 8, did anybody see the map was burning, going to Washington? Like
Oh, there
the
were
map?
some big changes in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
There were
Just
some big
like
changes.
like the map's burning, so they're not going to Washington anymore. you can see him not trying to go there anymore. That's what I got from it. I wasn't sure if anybody else thought that, but I was thinking that because I'm like, ooh.
I know. It was so chaotic.
I know. We were watching the season premiere at the premiere in LA, and
With
so
5,000
we feel like we
people.
missed probably so many little things because
Yeah.
we're watching it like a big venue, so we're both like, we gotta go home and like rewatch this.
Yeah.
And
get
what
all
is
the little
this
crazy
upset Rick Grimes? We saw
I
last
know.
episode. He seems devastated,
Yeah,
like
somebody's
premiere
died.
of season 7 devastated.
Yeah, I think that's the end of the season. When
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody's died,
Yes,
obviously.
people are getting
Somebody
People
important to
have
him.
died, yeah.
Like his eyes are like
Yeah.
purple from
Yeah.
I
crying.
know.
Well,
Yeah.
he's repeating the mercy, the prayer over and over. He's gotta have mercy. He looks like he's on the brink of like
I don't wanna think about it.
massacring
Yeah.
tons of people. He's
Yeah,
so
or maybe he
devastated,
did
so.
something against his own. Yeah, yeah.
That's broken. I don't
No,
know.
it
Something
could have been
major.
I don't know because Morgan's kind of losing it again.
Morgan's kind of redeemed himself and came back to like.
I don't think so because he sharpened his stick.
He did sharpen
He
his stick,
sharpened
yeah.
That's why he's getting it back.
Well, I think he's came back.
Yeah, but-
Because before he didn't want to kill.
Yeah.
And wouldn't
See if I can
kill.
remember.
And now he's kind of came back to like.
But in season 7, he kind of like
Pre-
had a little breakout, like a
Yeah,
breakdown.
I
Like he had a
don't know.
little
When
mental
people start
freak out
redeeming
for a
themselves,
second.
they usually die
Yeah,
differently too.
yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Like,
That's
oh,
how it's
yeah,
happening.
you're back in my
Girl,
good graces,
Morgan.
and you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, we need to
We're
do
gonna
the.
do our little drawing. We have a bunch of random things to give away.